Does Tech need to win for this to be a successful season? Do they need to win for this to be considered successful? Now, 9-3, and Nerny, you're arguably the most diehard Georgia Tech fan I know. Do you remember Will Long, who used to work here years and years ago? He's an assistant coach over at Oglethorpe University. I see Will all the time. Coach Will, he coached my son as a freshman. So I've known Will for 20 plus years. He's the other one that I know is a giant Tech fan. Like, he'll text me a bunch during games and whatnot. But if you would have said before the year, Georgia Tech's going to be 9-2 going into the Georgia game, you'd have been like, hell yeah, sign me up. But the way things have played out over the last month, it almost feels like this year has become not a disappointment, but not nearly as successful as we would have said 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, no doubt. I think the expectations just kind of kept getting higher and higher the more that, Georgia Tech would find ways to win ball games. Obviously it was no secret that the strength of schedule for the Jackets was nothing to write home about this year. So you knew the opportunity, that was before you. And it's not to say that there weren't some quality teams out there. Pittsburgh, I talked about them on the Hell of a Block Party show week in and week out. Of all the teams on the schedule, Pittsburgh really freaked me out because I knew that they were strong up on the line of scrimmage, and it was not our strong suit. I'll say this. I feel like earlier in the show we said it was a great season, and now we're going to successful. Is we going to dial down? Okay. Successful, yes, it's been a successful season. I don't know if I want to say great because of the way, that it ended. Okay, it's hard to say that it's great when you have the opportunity that you had down on the flats, primetime game, sold out crowd, Haynes King, a quarterback, you were ready to go, and you're down 28-0, at the start of the second quarter. So that obviously is not great, but I think it's been a successful season.
Yeah.
And we talked about it with Roddy because of the marketing, the branding, the national kind of recognition of Georgia Tech. I think we were the new kids on the block this year. And I think that the college football ratings week in and week out kind of reflected on that nobody was really fully buying in. But I think next year, listen, it's going to be tough replacing Haynes King. I think Aaron Philo is going to do fine. I think you still have playmakers on the team. But I think you're going to have a little bit more respect throughout the season if you were able to, replicate what you did this year. So from that standpoint, I think it was a successful season.
We did have Roddy Jones on earlier on today, and here's what former Jacket and ESPN analyst had to say about the season for Tech.
No, they don't. I say that hesitantly because it's not going to feel great when you had everything in front of you, including a berth in the college football playoff, including an ACC championship. And if you lose the last 2 games of the year, and who knows what happens in the bowl game, that is not going to feel great. But I think if you take the perspective of it as a whole, a 9-3 season is big improvement over the 2 previous 7-5 seasons. The fact that you had a quarterback that was in the Heisman Trophy conversation for the majority of the back half of the season is a positive. When Tech fans look at it with a little bit of perspective, they'll say this was still a successful year.
It's successful, yes, but I think the bitter taste of losing 3 of your last 4, having NC State, have almost 600 yards of offense, having Pitt go up 28-0 and you're not able to win. If you can't find a way to take out Georgia, it is going to leave a bitter taste. And then what do you do in a bowl game? Does Haynes King play? There's always going to be that conversation of who wants to play and who doesn't want to play.
It's sad to say this. If Georgia, if Tech, if it's not a competitive game against Georgia, and I think it will be. I think this is going to, if they can keep it close and avoid what happened a week ago where you're playing behind, 28 points, Georgia Tech's going to have a shot in this game because their quarterback is Haynes King. The problem was last week, it got way out of hand. He was pressing, just way too much. So my fear, though, is, you lose this game, the bowl game becomes an afterthought. Sure. I mean, based on what we're set up to do with the ACC, like you said, and a potential, playoff appearance, are we really going to? Are Tech fans going to be excited about the Holiday Bowl? I mean, even if it's a good match, you take on Arizona State in the Holiday Bowl.
I know what bowl Road Dogg wants them to go to.
What? Oh, they need to go to that Pop-Tart Bowl.
I
want to see Brent Key eat that Pop-Tart at the end of the game.
They are going to have 6 edible mascots. There's 6 edible Pop-Tarts at that.
So every year they're just adding more, right?
Yeah.
Didn't it start with one, and now they have 6?
Yeah, now it's going to be 6.
But it's not. That's not like I mean, you say it tongue in cheek, but that's not like of all the bowl games. That one's actually like pretty well funded, right? I mean, it's not awful.
It is. Well, look, Miami was there.
He knows Miami was there last year.
Yeah.
That's right.
All right.
And where our quarterback only wanted to play half the game, but whatever. That's neither here nor there. Let's go to the phones. 404-231-1680. Bill's in Charleston wants to sound off. Bill, happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, same to you guys. Hope you have a nice one. Thanks for being there today, John.
Appreciate it.
I'm not really, this year I was a Tech fan, but I just got to say, I don't know how anybody connected to that organization, that school, can't think of this as a massive disappointment. Maybe a decade from now, we'll look back, you'll see a 9-3 record and, that must have been a good year. But right now, to me, this is about missed opportunity. Obviously, Haynes King for being in New York, going to the ACC championship game, going to the playoff, maybe even winning a playoff game, establishing yourself as maybe the new leader in the ACC since nobody wants the title other than maybe, Miami, maybe be the next Clemson of that. And again, what I missed who made the comment just a moment ago about they can carry it over next year. Again, there's such a drop-off what's happened these last couple of games, and you don't have Haynes King next year. Again, I said this, earlier in the week or as soon as the game was over, this is too much of a massive missed opportunity, and I don't care what happens in the Georgia game anymore. Well, I do care, but I just don't think that game has as much meaning. The whole season doesn't have the meaning. A bowl game, regardless of where it is almost inconsequential these days anymore. I find this to be a massive disappointment. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate the call, Bill. 404-231-1680. Look, there are some points that Bill made that are spot on. Missed opportunity is maybe the greatest way to categorize this because, one, the ACC is so topsy-turvy. The fact that, again, 6 teams as of today still have a chance to play in the ACC title game, including Georgia Tech, lets you know how crazy the conference is. But how many times are you going to have years where Clemson is down? How many times are you going to have years that Florida State might be down for a while, but that's neither here nor there, that Florida State's down? Virginia Tech just hired James Franklin, which means they're probably going to get back to 8, 9, 10 win good pretty soon. Miami looks like they're really on the rise. SMU has lost exactly 1 conference game in their 2 years of being in the conference. I say all that to say, how many times are you going to be in position at home with a night game to go to the ACC title game?
It was a total letdown. It was a total letdown compared to what the expectations were. If I felt like Georgia Tech was going to drop back into a 500, type, season to season, a 500 type team, and maybe get 7, 8 wins this year, then I would be a little bit more upset right now. I don't think that's the case. I really think that the team is still going to be in a good spot. Mm-hmm. The defense is terrible. They have to bring in some players. We have Vandenberg on the defensive line. Is the only game record that Georgia Tech has on defense. They've got to go out and do what they did offensively, and that's another thing too. Think about what Brinke did in the portal last year. What he did to re-up on offense, to bring in a couple stud receivers who contributed, bringing in Hosley who contributed. These are the type of things why I'm not. It sucks. It sucks to blow the opportunity that you had. But I really, for the life of me, do not feel like the drop-off, I love Haynes King. Mm-hmm. There are parts of Haynes King game that I think were detrimental last week. I think he started pressing. He didn't let any of his other playmakers make any plays, okay? And I think that went against Georgia Tech. This team is still going to be back next year. The ACC, I know some teams are doing better in the ACC. The reality is there's 6 teams competing for the ACC title this year to make an appearance. The ACC is not some dominant force that's top heavy anywhere. Because of that, because I'm trying to be I'm a very cynical person, trying to be optimistic looking into the next season. That's why I'm not as down as Bill was, but I can't argue anything that he said.
Hey, damn it, I'm going to fix it.
Well, he tried to, and they fixed it in the second half. I'll give him that. The second half against Pitt, minus the final play where the running back goes 56 yards, Blake Gideon got things right. Speaking of next year, Roddy Jones was on with us earlier, and he talked about next year how the offense might be better without Haynes King.
when you look towards next year, the offense is going to have to look different. Like, it is so reliant on Haynes King this year that I actually think in a lot of ways it could be more dangerous next year, depending on who you get. Like, a lot of it's depending on the portal and who comes in and all that stuff. But I think it could be more dangerous because it could be more balanced and less reliant on one player. The other thing is you have a lot of money tied up in that quarterback room this year between Haynes King and Aaron Philo because you're paying your backup like a starter. Essentially, Haynes King's salary coming off the books allows you to reinvest that and allows you to rebalance sort of how much you're spending at each position group.
So that could be, to your point, Nerny, about the defense, maybe in the NIL and in the portal world, you go out and you find somebody. And I can tell you from my team, who was unequivocally awful in 2024 on the defensive side, they went out and hired a new coordinator, and they went out and brought in like 6 or 7 guys, 6, 7, in the transfer portal. I said I wasn't going to do it, and I did anyway. And they went from being like bottom tier to a top 10 defense. It can be done, and if there's somebody I believe that's going to do anything he can to make it right, it's Brent Key.
Yeah, I think there were 2 losses from last year's defense that we never replaced. Romello Height, who went off, he's doing, I forgot who he's playing for right now, but he's having a good season. He was a legitimate speed rusher coming off the defensive end. Young Jewin was your other defensive end who was more of a good against the run, but he could set the edge. You didn't replace those guys with starters. And maybe a lot of that is because they're young and they're just a year or 2 away from contributing. But the lack of pass rush on defense, I think, is what started everything, because I felt like the secondary for your team was actually pretty good this year, but you were just in a bad spot, down in and down out because you got no pressure on absolutely anybody. I agree with Roddy. I think Haynes King, listen, that offense, for better or worse, is going to go through Haynes King. He's the one making the read at the line of scrimmage. He's the one deciding if he's going to hand the ball off, if he's going to throw the ball. It goes through him. When we went down 28-0, he made the decision, and he's made the decision before, and a lot of the time it works out for him, that I am going to win this game. Yep. It is going to be me running the ball. It is going to be me throwing the ball. It's not going to be me, getting it out, letting the other guy, spreading it out to the guys, letting them try to make plays. And I think that is what Roddy Jones is talking about, how this offense can be more dynamic if you're getting the ball into the hands of your playmakers.
We went all the way back to the Colorado game. I remember coming in the Monday after that Friday opener against Colorado, and all of us looked at each other and go, there's no way Haynes King makes it through this season. Right. Like, he's going to die. Now, he took the 1 week off, and that was, hey, we're going to give him a week off because we don't need him. Was it against Gardner Webb or whoever the hell you played there? And Aaron Philo did fine after throwing an early interception. I think next year you do look different. I think the passing game, obviously, with Philo will look a little bit better. You're not going to have the QB run the same way that you had it this year. But unfortunately, you're sitting here on November the 26th, and it might be looking ahead to next year. But before you do that, you got clean old-fashioned hate. It's going to be a monster game on Friday. Yep. We have all the action here. And if rivalry week has ever shown anybody anything can happen this week, because Michigan had no business beating Ohio State last year. Georgia Tech really had no business being in an 8 overtime game against Georgia a year ago. Don't forget our 680 live broadcast from the Harrah's Cherokee Casino's tailgate ahead of Georgia versus Georgia Tech is all going to be brought to you by our good friend, attorney Ken Nugent. What are your plans for that game? Do you have like some leftover stuff? Do you just lay around the house?
Yeah, I mean, turkey sandwiches. I'm not indulging in any alcoholic beverages for at least a month after this past weekend.
Good
so
for you.
None of that is going to be happening. I want to survive this weekend. I think I'm getting close to the edge. So I'm taking it easy, man. I'm going to be couching it, hopefully finding something. Maybe I'll buy like a new video game system for my daughter and then go return it after the game's over so she can just stay busy for a few hours. We'll see what happens.
It's always a good way to do things.
Well, that's like our big, what we're thinking about, maybe like a big ask for Santa this year is maybe like the first like video game type system.
Like get her a PS5.
Well, not like that. Well, they have other things that are more like virtual reality and like specific
those
for
Oculus
kids.
Deals or whatever.
Well, it's not even that. It's just it's just like a box and it plays like kind of Paw Patrol games, but they're interactive games that go on the TV and it's more catered. The only thing I'm worried about that is some of it looks like kind of you're expelling some energy doing it, and I'm afraid that means that I'm going to be very, very involved in these video games.
Well, that might be good for you.
It will, and I'm sure it'd be good for me, but I'm lazy.
You talk about being on a bender, and I haven't done many of those. We went to Miami a couple of weeks ago. I woke up Saturday game day. One, thank goodness for Uber getting us back and forth. We went to the Hard Rock Casino. I hadn't felt like that in a long time. Like going to the game, normally I'm really excited. I was just in the car like, I just want to be
I saw the picture of you being a vagrant on the side of the road there. just like collecting your thoughts. You're just sitting there like, oh, man.
I have to show you.
How'd I get here?
I'm going to show you a picture from the parking deck of what happened there, and it was not good. Not one bit.